Welcome to Tavern Talk with Reverend Sergeant Tyler Randall.
What is up, everybody? How we feeling? A little bit better than yesterday, I hope. So I wanted to get on here and live stream. Turn the comments on. How's it going, everybody? So there we go. Yesterday was a doom and gloom kind of episode. In case those of you see it peeking out, got my 9/11 shirt on. Everybody always asks me, is it a George Bush shirt or is it a Osama bin Laden shirt? But no, it's a inside job shirt. As you can see, as always, not a Fed, regular guy. Can't beat it. So yesterday I was a little bit upset that I got my new teleprompter. Got my new camera all set up. Had a great monologue all written down, and I couldn't get it to work because I got too drunk to figure it out. We've all been there, right? So today, after rewatching that, which I'm going to leave it up. I don't think I'm going to take it down. Because as it turns out, when somebody is doom and gloom like that, it should be seen. I was reviewing the Civil War trailer of the new A24 film that's coming out. So it's very weird. It's got a lot of stuff in it that doesn't make sense. Like, for most part, what everybody's latching onto is California and Texas are aligned in the Western forces, and it has like an over-the-top satirical boogaloo boy, asking the journalists what kind of American they are, presumably before he just executes them, which I was playing with and hamming up and saying, ha ha ha, LOL, that's what you get, kind of thing. And I started going on this tirade about, make sure I can hear myself here. Yeah, just in case. Take one earbud out so I can hear, unless that's where the microphone is. I don't know. If you can hear me, let me know. But I wanted to go into that because I was saying a lot of stuff like, well, if you don't know how to clean water, if you don't know how to hunt, if you don't know how to jar canned food, if you don't have kind of a plan for when there's no power, what are you going to do after 3-4 days? You're not going to have any money. You have limited resources. Your people are going to start turning on each other. Presumably, hopefully, some places come together. I have a good set of neighbors around here. We would lean on each other. Good group of people around here. And since this is the tavern, I'd like to take a short minute to say that we drink in the tavern. Today we got some Fat Bottom Noel, almost flying off the shelf because it's no longer that time of year, but it is quite delicioso. Also, because it's a little chilly out here, got the heat tree going, got a little hot toddy going, some coffee and 4 roses. Oh, it's delicious. But yeah, I was talking about all these things and it was kind of like a ha ha ha. But to be fair, that's kind of what they want you to do. That's kind of the reaction that they're supposed to get right off the bat. I started thinking about it. I don't really go into too much on what is fifth dimensional warfare. And really, I only have like the smallest grasp of what it is. But it's kind of like that Jeffrey Rush in Pirates of the Caribbean. He says, you best start believing in ghost stories because you're in one. That's basically what it is. What is fifth dimensional warfare? You're in it. Right around 2016 or so, I don't know who's counting. That's when the social media companies really started to ramp up their terms and conditions, being more banning what they don't want on the platform, right? What is misinformation, disinformation? Just a couple years ago, they had a whole government-funded disinformation board on what was going to be the okay opinion on the internet, and which one's not going to be the okay opinion on the internet. Now, if you watched my video yesterday, that's definitely not an opinion that's allowed to be on the internet. It's suppressed. 5 people watched it. One of my good friends was like, hey, I'm right there with you. I feel you. I get it. And that's the way it should be seen. It's like, hey, you're mad, you're upset. That's what's going on. But today I want to go over some things instead of saying, ha, 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 I can do this and you can't, what I want to do is I want to say, be uplifting, like my boy Fletcher, Travis Fletcher, Fleckus Talks. Shout out to the podcast. Great, best new podcast of all time. I want to go over something simple you can get. Home production of quality meats and sausages by Stanley Mariansky and Adam Mariansky. Now, of course, the the Polacks are the ones that wrote the sausage book. Absolutely. But it's inexpensive, right? It's $26, right? But look what you get. Look at this. Look at the volume that this thing is. I'm just going to read the back to you, and then I'm going to open it up and just put my finger in a spot and just to show you the kind of value that you can get out of a small paperback book. So it says, there's been a need for comprehensive one-volume reference on the manufacture of meats and sausages at home. There are many cookbooks loaded with recipes, which do not build any foundation of the serious hobbyist flow. This leaves them with the understanding of sausage making procedures and not afraid to introduce his own ideas. This book bridges the gap between the technical textbooks and the requirements for the typical hobbyist. Difficult technical terms are substituted with their equivalent but similar meanings, and many photographs and drawings and tables were included. It's got 172 recipes which were chosen for their original and historical value. Although recipes play an important role in these products, the process that ultimately decides the sausage quality. And it's perfectly clear that the authors don't want the reader to copy the recipes only. They want you to learn. They want you to build on this, learn actually a skill. You'll discover how to apply cures, make brines, smoke meats, poultry, game, and fish, create your own recipes, conform to U.S. government standards like the USDA for preserving meats without using a lot of chemicals and stuff like that. Make fresh smoked, emulsified, and fermented sausages. Make special sausages such as head cheeses, blood and liver sausages. I was reading that page today because it's very interesting. Like, imagine you only have a certain type of meat available to you. Like, you don't want to waste the liver of the deer. Do you make sausage with it? And also making air-dried products such as jerky. What is this? Biltong and pemmican. Pemmican. That's one of those things you always see that YouTube ad for the Lost Ways. The guy with the actor that has the long beard. He's like, this food is what kept the frontiersmen alive on their long term. It's basically, it's protein and blood and bread, grain all mixed together, and it has a couple recipes for that in here as well. But just opening the book up, and it's full of tables and charts that show you what you're doing, what's happening to the meat, what you're going to get out of the meat, different products that you can use, how you can apply a fan to an already existing smoker, how to make salami, how to butcher correctly. What you're looking at. If you've never done it before, it's actually quite easy. I've only ever done field dressings personally. Here we go. How to can and jar food. Look at this. This is what you need right here. I can't stress enough that a book like this is paramount to, not just survival, but just having that skill, understanding what's happening to your food, understanding where your food comes from, and understanding how to feed yourself and your family in a time where, you might need to preserve something for a while. Today I did a kind of a hasty recipe. I grabbed some stuff in the pantry that's been sitting there for a while and said, man, I really need to cook this. All right. So I had some beans, some Spam, some potatoes in a can, and I cooked all that up, put a little garlic in it. Obviously, you got to put garlic in everything. And then put some water in it and started bringing it down. And as it started to simmer, I dropped 6 eggs on top and threw the lid on top. And then I toasted up a bunch of tortillas because I don't have any bread in the house at the moment. And I made basically like shit on a shingle. Some of you who have talked to your grandparents about it, or had a father or a grandfather who used to, Michelle's father used to make it. It's basically shredded meat made into a gravy, and then you put it on a piece of toast. And it's a easy way to make a hearty meal very quickly to feed a lot of people. And that's what I made. So it was really fun to do something like that it's going to hold up in the fridge. It's packed with a lot of salt already. Counteracting super salty foods, quick tip: you have a little bit of vanilla in your pantry and you dip your finger in there and taste it, it's super duper duper salty. just a few drops. And then, by the way, I'm talking like a whole gigantic. I have a huge pan, so we're talking volume wise. I don't know, like I don't know how to measure volume, but it had to be like 2 or 3 or 4 cups, maybe 3 or 4 cups of food. All this thick gravy. Just 2 or 3 drips of vanilla, and it really counteracts that salty flavor. It brings the salt down a little bit as you will. Also, counterintuitive for coffee. You have super duper, like, that burnt coffee. Just the smallest amount of salt. Just sprinkle a little salt in there. It takes away. It's old sailor's trick. Takes it right away. So these are the kind of things I want to bring. I want to put this out into the world. I want people to see this and say, oh, it's not just doom and gloom. It's not just Tyler drunk rallying against, the powers that be, saying, screw you, F you, I'm going to be fine. What we need to do is what I was talking about all the whole last year. Don't just make a community online. Make your community in IRL, in real life. Share these things with your neighbors. You don't have to share my videos. I don't give a shit about my view count. I can't even be monetized anyway. But what you can do is learn how to smoke some meat. You can buy a smoker for super duper cheap. You don't have to do all the hobbyist crazy stuff where you're making pork ribs, all these crazy recipes and cheese dips and all that. Just the basic guidelines for how to smoke chicken, smoking pork, you can smoke steaks. You can buy a big old round of meat at Costco. You tell them, hey, can you give me the ribeye, but don't cut it up? They'll give it to you cheap, on the cheap. Smoke one of those bad boys, and then cut it up, wrap it up, and smoke, and continue to smoke it. The meat's going to last you quite a while. And then you can can it. You can chicken, you can can all this stuff. And over time, when you're canning, this stuff that's coming off the top of my head right now, you can can chicken with some garlic and some onions, and just boil it, get the vacuum seal, and it'll hold for technically forever, but as long as you have a good seal. But you lose flavor over time. So the best flavor and by the way, flavor is not something you're really looking for when you're surviving, but it does help with if it's appetizing to actually eat and you're not eating for pure survival. You want to be able to sprinkle a little salt on it and not hate what you're eating. Or if you're feeding a child, they could be finicky to feed. You could technically have it on there 3, 4, 5 years, but it's going to lose flavor over time. But there's no air and there's nothing in there that's going to spoil the food. So, Happy New Year, Mallory. My brother, how you doing? Mal's up there in Clarksville right now, I'm guessing. Have you been to Abe's yet? I see that. So a brewery that we both really like. They moved into a different location in Clarksville, and then now they're moving back to their original location. Changed the name, starting up the brewery all over again. Always good to see good people, good things happening to them. Happy New Year, my brother. Cheers to you. Yeah, anybody else, if you want to comment, you want to talk about something, you want me to talk about something, you want to bring anything up, totally fine. Probably going to be in here for another, I don't know, 20 minutes. We could take it to an hour, whatever. I'm just going to talk off the top of my head. But that's something, just to close out the first 15 minutes of this. Get this specific book, Home Production of Quality Meats and Sausages. And it's by Stanley Marininsky and Adam Marininsky. My local butcher, I think it's called Meat Shop in Hendersonville. This dude, this is what he has. He has like 7 copies of this book, and they're all tattered and everything. And this guy's a genius. Absolutely love his product. Yeah, Mallory says he missed out last night. Probably hit it up this weekend. Bro, it's dark. It's sad. It's dark. But it's one of those things. It's like it needs to be said. Nobody's putting this out in the world. Nobody's saying the doom and gloom. It doesn't have to be doom and gloom, man. Because first of all, in the end, we win. Right? Uh-oh. No. Software update. Don't do that. Thing's trying to get me to do a software update in the middle of the stream. So I gotta keep the stove going. Apologies. I recommend that if you smoke, you could smoke with me. But yeah, it doesn't need to be doom and gloom. We need to create our own communities. Reach out to your friends that you haven't talked to in a while. Talk with them, see how they're going, see what they're doing in their life. I know their stuff changes for them all the time. They might have moved, they might have changed jobs. Facebook, social media can be a very powerful thing. And that's why they try to control what we say on it. And that's why they're trying to lead us down these rabbit holes of TikTok brain and, next thing. I'm guilty of it myself. I'll sit there and I'll 2 hours will go by and I'm like, geez, oh my God, I need to freaking set this thing down. I go read a book. I just got four or five really awesome books for Christmas. My wife have made a pledge to set our phones down for a while and actually crack open books. She's actually in her craft room right now. She's got a book on sewing and she's trying to figure out how to do something that she's never done before in the sewing front. That's one of those things, one of those skills that I'm not saying, good for her because she's a woman and that's where they belong, but she's always enjoyed quilting. She's always enjoyed, fixing clothes. She hates doing hems. So I try not to ask her to do that, but it's just a really good skill. I know I'm basic sewing. Like I know how to make, a regular cross stitch to put a piece of pants or put a patch on or something stupid. Hey, my boy, Adrian Garza. How you doing, my brother? Said years ago, I made some hardtack survival crackers from a YouTube recipe. See, that's the other thing. This little thing that we're doing right now, YouTube, you can learn so much on it as long as you put it in the correct context, right? I've learned how to use equipment that I've never touched before, and I've been in the field, detached from, from the home office. Just I just figured out, I was working for a company called North Star Environmental. Love those guys; they do great work. And I was in South Carolina, and I had to figure out how to use this brand new hydraulic pump that I've never used before. Sat there and watched a YouTube video real quick, and that's this is that. There's the flow. This is the way it goes. Okay, boom. But so you get a little bit of once you get a little bit of competence in a field, YouTube can really take you to the next level. If you're in like that hobbyist stage, that hardtack stuff's pretty cool. I mean, if you're on a hike, God forbid you get lost, God forbid you break your ankle, something, and you're going to need to conserve energy, make the long trip the next day, and you get caught overnight, you get caught in a snowstorm, rainstorm, what have you. Something that can really keep you going. I never leave. I don't do any kind of. I like to go camping in the wintertime, but I haven't made a lot of time for it in the last year or so. But I like to go in the wintertime specifically to trap. And I want to be able to trap either a squirrel or a rabbit and, dress it and cook it just to know that I can still do it. Okay. I have a spot picked out that I like. It's just things that stinks is the place that I want to go is like 2.5, 3 hours away. And, you want to be able to do it close, but, single man tent, collect your own firewood, bring a cast iron, bring food to cook, but try to trap what you can or hunt a squirrel with a 22 or something dumb like that. As long as it's within season and you get your license. YouTube, calm the fuck down about this. I'll call the feds on me again. So yeah, I don't need the feds coming to my house again. That was fun. Because I made some spicy memes, you guys. Made some spicy memes about the IRS agents. The new 93,000 of them or whatever the fuck I got. Also, I found out on YouTube you're not allowed to curse in the first 60 seconds of a video to automatically downgrade it. So I think I made it 18 whole minutes before I said the fuck word, which is great. But yeah, man, camping can be a really fun thing. I know if you've got kids or something, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to do. But getting them introduced into that environment can be a really good thing. Doing it for fun purposes, so that when it's not for a fun purpose, it's something that they can pick back up, an experience that they can lean on. Some of my greatest, I loved going out into the woods when I was a kid. God, I was one of those, 90s kids that we were just outside constantly. We're not scared of trees. We're not scared of digging holes. We're not scared of, being out past and all of a sudden it's dark and you've been outside for 13 hours, 12 hours, something like that. These are all things that are gone, right? Helicopter parenting, the great Satan scare that we had in the 90s, scaring people away. Try to get your kids outside. Try to get them away from cell service, bring a cell phone jammer with you. Turn that thing on in the freaking at the RV park, see what happens. Oh, this is great. I got a Partagas going right now. Good friend of mine, Robert Cook, gave me a bunch of these. He was cleaning out his humidor. Gave me a whole bunch of Partagas and Olivos. Absolutely love it. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it. It's delicious smoke. So if I could just impart a little bit more knowledge on smoking, even if you got one of those pellet smokers, right? I recently transitioned to a pellet smoker from using wood my entire life. And someone's going by. But the pellets, they don't really smoke the way you're used to smoking on wood. It's a little different, right? It's mostly regulating the heat to a certain temperature with wood, right? But it's not really putting a lot of smoke flavor on. It's just like a light smoke. So what I would do is I would take a little tiny device where I put pellets in it and actually like just to throw. It's like a maze, and you start it burning, and it'll burn in kind of like a pattern, just to get more smoke on the meat, you know. And that meat keeps it. Just you could dry store it. You could put it in the fridge. It regularly I would do 2 or 3 packs of chicken legs and smoke those for like 4 hours, and then you can do whatever you want with them after that. They're not fully cooked, mind you. Just keep in mind, you always got to have that thermometer, handy thermometer. Check the temperature of meat before you eat it. You grill it afterwards. But always be trying new things, learning new things. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. Don't get doom and gloom over the propaganda. You don't have to listen to it. You don't. I mean, that's the greatest thing about culture jamming, and that's why. Coming back to 5th generation warfare, I started talking about it, started giving you the light at the end of the tunnel. Now we're going to get back to that for the last portion of this. Since I still got some smoke left, might as well talk about it. What is the 5th generation warfare? Well, I'll tell you, it's bloodless. It's meant to control people so that we don't have to, go door to door, round people up or anything like that. You'll round yourself up ideologically. The whole left versus right, blue versus red thing is falling apart. Okay, real conservatives and real liberals are getting together, and they're starting to see that this is all BS. Right? We have a dude in the White House that's not. He's not in charge, bro. He's not the president. Like people have said that the whole time about Trump. Like even the Q drops, which by the way, QAnon is a great subject for what 5th generation warfare is. I listened to it in its early stages, didn't know what it was until some guy gave me a t-shirt at the dock where I work. He was like, "Hey, check it out, man. Trump's going to win election. Don't worry about it. Here, try the shirt." And that's my QAnon shirt that I wore on the January 6th podcast. And it's a big joke because it's actually a CIA psychological operation. And what it does is it riles up certain people who on the fringe want to believe something and gives them just a little bit of this and connect the dots. You got to connect the dots. You got to see the big picture. You got to read the Q drops. And it's almost comedic how sensational it is and how well it kind of worked, because it wasn't actually to get people to be radical. It was to get enough people to visit the website and see it so that the left media could go, look, this is what people are watching. This is what the far right is doing. So by participating in their own psyop, they can say, look, the psyop's working, while pointing the finger and saying that they're all crazy. That's what it was for. So there was some interesting stuff in the original Q drops when they're like, trust the plan. But the problem is when you have an anonymous source, you can't. Sorry, I thought I heard some. Plus, I'm trying not to be too loud because I'm in my backyard. But you can't have an anonymous source and trust it. You know what I mean? Sooner or later, the anonymous source has to reveal itself, right? And that's why James O'Keefe is doing such great work. He doesn't just have undercover sources tell him things and then he reports it. He gets video, right? That's the culture jam portion of 5th generation warfare. He's turning it on its head. He's saying, oh, really? I'm going to go into your board meetings and record you and dump it online and let people watch it. They try to suppress it so hard, but we see it anyway. And when you do see it, you're like, shit, is that the CEO of IBM saying not to hire white people, and then we're going to ding you if you do? And the more white people you have, the less of a bonus you'll get as a manager. That's a little weird. Also, in the same breath, to be like, and Asians are not an underrepresented minority. Screw the Asians. They work hard. They have a higher, freaking earning than white people. Like they're the next ones up, right? And they divide by racial lines, which is so stupid. Anybody that's ever been in the military knows race is dumb. It's fucking stupid. Those lines, they go away real quick when you're in the same unit. You know what I mean? When you're in Korea and you have to dig a fighting hole and you're like, fuck, ground solid. It's stupid. I don't want to be. You become brothers. That's why I know it's a little dumb, but you hear military guys calling each other brother all the time. But it's a real thing. It's tangible. It's not really tangible. Literally not tangible. But there's something there. You know what I mean? Even guys that you never served with, dudes that were Korean War vets, dudes that were Vietnam vets that are older now, like call them brother because they are your brother. And that's where the culture jam portion comes into fifth generation warfare. What is culture jamming? It's basically saying the truth despite the narrative and saying, no, you're wrong. I don't care. They say, oh, well, we have all these studies and everything that prove our point, even though none of them are true. You say, no, that's not the truth. I don't give a fuck what you say. I don't give a shit. It's not the truth. If you stand on the side of truth, they can't get you with the propaganda, with the message, with the, what do you call it? The message, right? The narrative. That's it. That's what they call it. So that's why my latest thing this year, 2024, is all going to be about mock and bully the liberals where you find them, which is taking like a little bit of a thing off of the Quran there, slay the idolaters where you find them. Instead of that, I'm talking about mocking and bullying. And when I say bully, I don't mean physically hurt anybody. I'm not like advocating for violence like that, even though there is a time for violence. There is a time to stand up for yourself. There's a time to defend yourself. This is not what I'm talking about. They did this, the left and, to a lesser extent, the right, the fake GOP have done this successfully all through Trump's presidency, all the way leading up. You find them like Maxine Waters. You go and you talk, you bully them cajole them out of their seats at the restaurant. You go to them at the gas station. You tell them what's up. You tell them we're not going to have you here anymore. Blah blah blah. It's like sounds a whole lot like what the KKK did. It sounds a whole lot like what the neo-Nazis did. Like when you watch it, look at the Charlottesville dum-dums. A lot of them are just federal agents, but it's not the point. The point is like it's the same thing as QAnon. They're putting together a narrative like they will not replace us, and they're like, look at these dummies. They actually think they're going to get replaced. I mean, yeah, we're replacing them, but that's not the point. They want the narrative to be, look at how crazy these people are. Look at how hateful they are. That's hate. That's hatred. We should have zero tolerance for hate. Intolerant. What's that? Repressive tolerance, as Herbert Marcuse said. We will not tolerate intolerance until the ball's in our court, and then we can tolerate a little bit, right? We can tolerate what I want to tolerate, not what they want. It's just control. So fifth generation warfare is this thing. It's Facebook and YouTube. Hey, Happy New Year, Cipriano, my friend. How you doing? And I know what you're thinking. I know I can hear his voice in my head right now. He's like, oh, Rando, what are you doing, Rando? You always always talking on the internet. I love you, Sip. Happy New Year to you and your family, man. I love you. But yeah, that's what this thing is. See, we got people commenting, saying Happy New Year, saying what's up. Keeping the connection alive. And that's what we really need to do. You don't need to trust everything that I say that is the truth. I mean, that's fine. You can think I'm full of shit. And in some ways, I probably am. I've got my own opinions. But when I'm standing on the side of truth and I say, hey, this is true, it's up to you to say, is it really true? He might be looking at it from a different perspective, but man, everything he said about COVID was right. Not a single thing that I've ever posted about COVID turned out to be fake, right? Not a single thing that I've ever posted turned out to be a lie. When I said, hey, it doesn't look like it's that dangerous. Looks like it doesn't hurt kids that much. It looks like maybe the vaccines might not be the best route if you're a healthy person, if you've already gotten it, blah, blah, blah. All that shit's true. 100%. It's been proven time and time again. And the more studies that they do, the more they're finding out, that's what it was. But you gotta start somewhere. You gotta say, well, maybe this Tyler guy's got something to it. Maybe I'm gonna go and check up on him, see what he's saying is the truth. And once you do, you're gonna say, okay, I don't look at it the same way he does. Maybe you don't think that my solutions would be the same, but that's the way that the process is supposed to work. We're supposed to have a common goal and then argue about taxes, right? How much to, and blah, blah, blah. We should all be on the same page when it comes to letting millions of third world uneducated people from Guinea into the country, where by the way, the average IQ is like 50, right? That's not to say people from Guinea are bad, right? There's probably a lot of good ones, but when they're busing them in here to go to aviation school, is that a good idea? No. And that's just the truth. And that's an indisputable fact. That's something that you can't prove is wrong. It's just not a good idea. You can say, oh, but what about them? You're like, well, what about them? They were doing fine in Guinea. Well, how come they're not helping each other out over there in Guinea? What about all the other countries why aren't they leaning on each other? Oh, they have warlords, you say. No. Well, we've got our own problems everywhere. You got to have deference at a certain point. You can't bleed. You can't have your heart bleed for everybody, right? I don't believe in that. Because it doesn't work for a country. Now, it might work for Everything works on a small scale, and every exception proves the rule, right? On a small scale, if you help somebody, you can change their life, you can help them out, you can feed them, clothe them, house them, get them a job, what have you. But it doesn't work on the national scale. It just doesn't. It cannot. And that's just the truth. Once again, coming back to the truth. So this fifth generation warfare, they bring in all the migrants. They want them to give driver's license. They've already did that in California. They want to get them to vote. They're already doing that in California. That's the test model for failing state. California is dying as a state, but they make so much damn money that it kind of covers up for it, so it just happens slowly. You know, they've already lost electoral votes. Think about that. California as a state and New York as a state lost electoral votes to the point where they have now. That's the whole point. Now they redraw the map. We got to redraw the districts so that we can get the most amount of Democrat votes in the biggest district. And that way, it doesn't matter if all the little tiny districts on the outside vote. We run the state. That's what it's all about. That's the new thing, right? They already rigged it during 2020 with all the mail-in votes, which, by the way, they're starting to find every single one. The Georgia votes up to like 17,000 now. 17,000 votes that were fake. Uh-oh. Now it doesn't matter. We already got the presidency. It doesn't matter if they find out it's all fake. We already got the power. We already win. If that's not fraud, I don't know what it is. You know. So this is the new thing. We're gonna bus all the immigrants in. We're gonna redraw the maps around where they live, and they're all gonna vote for what? The handout. They're gonna vote for the handout. Ruminate on that for a minute. How come you can't get a hotel in London? Well, that's another one. If you're not following what's happening in England, in Scotland, in Ireland, they're using this fake race baiting BS. Oh, Ireland's just too white. You see how many white people there are in Ireland? You see how many white people there are in Ireland? All the PMs are white. All the mayors are white. All the city councils. Yeah, it's fucking Ireland, you dumb idiots. We just need to get more Bangladeshi third worlds. If you import the third world, guess what do you get? The third world, right? So you got to get into a red stronghold and then not trust those freaking GOP bastards when you get there. You know, rally against them and hold them to account and say, no, you know, that's not what conservatism to me isn't. Oh, let's just rally for, you know, comprehensive tax reform. No, what we want a closed border. We want manufacturing brought back to America, because if we don't make anything, what's our GDP? It's going to steadily decline as our debt goes to the ceiling. Nobody's paying attention to what the dollar's doing. Nobody's paying attention to gold. And why did all of the biggest banks in the world just buy $18 billion worth of physical gold? And why are a bunch of billionaires digging out, you know, bunkers in the ground? Like, what are they doing? What do they know that we don't? And they know something. So maybe we should start doing stuff. This is where the whole point of this one podcast. I hit 30 minutes. Probably going to start wrapping up here in a minute, but that's the whole light at the end of the tunnel. Learn how to make meat, learn how to smoke meat, how to preserve, how to can, how to hunt, how to field dress, how to butcher. Learn what vegetables you can and can't eat. What can you harvest? You can harvest stuff right here in your house. You live in the suburbs like I do, fine. Pot some plants, some tomatoes, get some potatoes. My neighbor does it. Make potatoes in a pot. And they will yield. They'll keep growing. And you can can them constantly. Keep it going, right? That's the logistics of how we win. On the ground, right? That's getting supplies, right? Resupply, reduce. But at the end, well, not at the end, but on the way there, you still have to learn how to use this thing, right? Everybody's got one of these in their pocket. Little tracking device, little listening machine. Use it to your advantage. It's the whole of the world's knowledge. It's a portal in your pocket. You can use it. Just because they're listening to you and tracking what you buy, which is why they want to get rid of physical currency. They want you to buy everything with the digital dollar. Sorry, my neighbor's kid's leaving right now. Got that loud country music on the radio, which I like it. I like country music. But this is what we need to do. Start culture jamming, bully the leftists, mock them. Because once you show the absurdity of what they believe, because it's cancer. What they believe is it's cancer. They believe in basically Marxism, and everybody's like, they beat that word to death, and that's why that they've done that over the last 15 years. Oh, everything's Marxism, everything's communism, huh? Everything's communism. Yes. It is. That's why we're saying no. So they could invent new words all the time. They push all these culture war issues like trans stuff and gay stuff, which is nothing wrong with gay people. It's just, why does everything have to be gay? Like everything. It's got to have pride this and pride that. Why? For what? To get to your kids. Not in that way, but sometimes in that way. They need to get them indoctrinated, get them in that mindset. They always talk about, sitting at the dinner table with the uncle that's like old me going, hey, maybe we should close the border. Like, that's racist, right? It's like, that's what they want. They want them to have to say the thing, but not be educated in it whatsoever. That's repressive tolerance. That's what Herbert Marcuse was talking about when he worked at San Diego State. He was talking about making them so dumb that they would just say whatever we want them to say and not really look into it too much. So just to close it down, I would say stand on the side of truth, build your communities, not just online, visit with your friends, share how to cook, share how to can, share how to hunt, learn how to use a bow and arrow. Learn if you want to learn the guns, there's thousands, millions of us veterans out there willing to teach you. We will show you how. Build your communities, be stronger. I love you guys, and I'm gonna have more of these coming out. And if anybody watches them, that's cool. If not, oh well. Peace out.